What's up? It's STR. Derek and I have both recently posted on our InstaFaced account what our top 11 bands were. And so we thought we'd jump on and just do a quick rundown of the list of why each of the bands made our list. So what do you think, man? Let's start with yours.
Yeah, I'd love to. This is an easy list. Again, when you get older, you just know what bands you've fallen in love with. So number 11 for me is the Misfits. I have loved every era of the Misfits, whether it was Jerry Only singing, Michael Graves before that, and obviously Glenn Danzig before that. I love the Misfits. I love Halloween. I love spooky. I love doo-wop, and I love punk. So it all kind of works for me.
Yeah.
Power Trip, crossover thrash. I think that they are one of the greatest crossover thrash, if not the greatest. Love the riffs from our guy Blake. We had him on the podcast before. Riley Gale, up until he passed away, I thought that he was a rising star. He wrote great lyrics. Amazing band. Sepultura with Max Cavalera only. I love Max. I loved Sepultura right up through Roots. I always wish that some of the earlier work had been a little bit better production. They did that recently with Cavalera, A Conspiracy, and redid those. So I'm thrilled about it. But Sepultura is a staple for me. You listen to Refuse Resist, I still get fucking pumped up to this day about it.
My number 11 spot was Soundgarden. They were one of the seminal grunge bands in the late 80s and early 90s. I'm a Gen Xer, and the alternative music wave was strong. Soundgarden was at the forefront of that. Amazing musicianship, great songcraft. Chris Cornell's vocals, unbelievably underrated singer as far as I'm concerned. And when he passed, the world lost an incredibly powerful singer. But they were a huge, huge part of my life for a long time. That's why they made my list. Failure was a band at my number 10 spot. Kind of an underground, unknown musician type band. Ken Andrews was the brainchild in that band. Incredible stuff that they put out. Lots of interludes between songs. Fantastic Planet is my favorite album of theirs. Incredible band. Again, like Soundgarden, one of the bands that landed at the right time for me, and that's why they're important. Again, my number 9 spot, Alice in Chains, for all the same reasons. Again, incredible vocalist, gone far too soon. Great musicianship and songcraft. Jerry is a great guitar player, great writer, great vocalist in his own right. And again, they checked so many boxes at that certain time in my life that they will always be a top band for me. So those are my bottom 3. What do you got next on yours?
Yeah, and Alice in Chains would have been probably number 12 for me. I mean, they should be on the list. But yeah, number 8 is Pink Floyd. David Gilmour, to me, is a wizard. He's not a musician. He's a wizard. His voice, his play style, his tones, his bends, their entire music library. I am on the side of Gilmour. I am not on the water side of it.
Yeah.
But I think that he has got to be one of the greatest musicians to ever live. And so therefore, Pink Floyd's on the list.
Agreed.
Death. Yeah. Death, again, one of the greatest metal musicians to ever live was Chuck. I have most of their vinyl records of their music. I love them. I think that they are the perfect collision of death metal and thrash metal. Love the production, love all the remastered work. And then number 6 is Slayer. Slayer speaks for itself. Tom Araya, I think, is probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, thrash metal singers of all time. Lyrically, they are just pure evil. And then, what can you say? The dueling guitars.
Yeah.
The dueling guitar solos are just magic. And some of my fondest memories was seeing Slayer live, well over 15 times, I think.
Yeah. Does Kerry King's solo venture fill any of the void that Slayer left when they hung it up?
Yeah. I mean, it's basically Tom could have sang that. Henneman could have been the other side of the guitars, and and Bostaph was in Slayer, and he plays drums on it. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it could have been a Slayer record. I think a couple of the songs were actually cast-offs from the last Slayer record, Repentless. So sure, absolutely.
Nice. My number 8 is Tool. Again, progressive metal. They're doing things that other bands weren't doing. They were taking steps, and they did it very successfully. And again, just I guess being the age I am and growing up in the time I did, these were big bands that carried so much weight when they landed. And that's why Tool is my 8 spot. My number 7 band is Steely Dan. Again, absolute top shelf musicians, worked with these guys over the years. And I think I mentioned, it may have been Revocation, the review we did on Revocation, where I said if Steely Dan was a metal band, they would sound like Revocation does now. Again, the musicianship is just insane. The library of absolutely phenomenal music that Steely Dan produced over the years, it's not unmatched, but it's pretty damn close to unmatched. And they were, as a musician myself, they just, almost every song that I hear from them, even if it's Ricky Don't Lose That Number that, people heard on classic rock radio stations a million times a year, it's still, there's such power there. Incredible band. My number 6 spot is Metallica. What do we need to say about Metallica? Whether you like their old stuff, their new stuff, the middle stuff, they're a great band. I can nitpick stuff all day long, and the drummers out there will know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to do that because as a whole, that band, they're the biggest metal band on the planet. And you don't get to be the biggest metal band on the planet without having unbelievably solid material, which they do. And it resonated with me for many, many years.
Yeah. And talk about resonating. Def Leppard's my number 5 band. When I was young, High and Dry, Pyromania, and Hysteria really, really, really hit me hard. And right around that time was when I first started hearing Slayer and Metallica, and I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
But Def Leppard for rock and roll was really big for me. I thought Photograph, and I still think Photograph is like one of the greatest rock songs ever. And I think they're cheesy now, too. I mean, they got really, really poppy, really cheesy after Hysteria. Pour Some Sugar on Me screwed everything up. I cannot stand that song. The first time I heard that and Love Bites, I'm like, what is this crap? And then the rest of Hysteria is pretty good. But those 2 songs were the beginning of the end for Def Leppard for me.
Yeah.
But those 3 albums are really great, and they've stood the test of time for me.
Yeah, High and Dry
Pantera,
and Pyromania, incredible records.
Absolutely. Pantera, what do you need to say? The 4 of them, I don't know how many times I've seen them. I was fortunate enough to sit on a tour bus and interview Phil. I love every record that they did. I found them to be everything that is technical, everything that is thundering, just everything that hits you over the head really, really, really hard. And as a young guy and now an old guy that still has some bones to still crunch, Pantera still works for me. And then, this is going to be probably, people are going to flame me for this, but number 3 is Black Sabbath. I love Black Sabbath. Just tremendously. Yeah. How can you not? Everything about them. I have the 13 records signed by Ozzy Osbourne, Iommi, and Geezer Butler. Cherish it. I cherish their music. I was incredibly sad when Ozzy died. I will be even more sad when Geezer and Iommi die. But everything that they've done, everything we talk about is around because of them. And so how can they not be on the list?
Yeah, that's fair. Let's see. The next one on mine, Pantera. For all the reasons. We don't need to run the list again. Genre defining. Unbelievable group of musicians. Just, that we don't need to say anymore. Pantera. My number 4 spot was Pink Floyd. As with you, I was a Gilmore guy over a Waters guy. Their music, going back to my earliest memories as a 6, 7-year-old listening to the Clock Radio, the local rock station in Michigan, and hearing their music, it had a visceral, physical effect on me. That was the band that taught me that there is power in music that can make you change the way you feel. And I still feel that way listening to Gilmore's solo stuff today. And that's why they're on my list. My number 3 is Meshuggah. They are progressive metal giants, and they just continue to get better and better and better over a 40-plus year run. They are absolute juggernauts, and they, much like Pink Floyd, give me a physical, visceral reaction to their music. And while I've not known about them as long as I've known about most of the other bands on my list, they hit me. They hit me right here, up in the brain. They hit me in the heart. They hit me all over, and they couldn't not be on my list.
Yeah, and they were another one that was hard to leave off along with Alice in Chains. And I kind of wish I did a top 13 because
I know, me too.
Alice in Chains and Meshuggah would have been on there. Yeah. All right. Well, top 2, Metallica. Yeah. I remember the first time that I heard Kill 'Em All, and I was sitting there listening to Whiplash over and over and over. And I was hooked, and that was it. And then you listen to everything through Injustice for All. And I like the Black Album. I know it doesn't have changing parts like the first 4 records, but Bob Rock made that record so beefy. So beefy that I like the Black record. I just can't listen to Enter Sandman anymore. It's so beat to death. But, Nothing Else Matters is one of the most beautiful songs ever written. And you can take the spectrum of, everything from Ride the Lightning to Fade to Black. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot to hear. And there's a lot that any person at any phase in life can relate to. And plus, I'm going to say it, Hetfield has got to be in the same category for metal that Gilmour is for rock and roll.
I would 100% agree.
His abilities, he is the talent in the band, and not to take anything away from Cliff Burton. Rest in peace, Lars. We won't talk about him. Kirk Hammett is fantastic. Mustaine before that, fantastic. But he is the driving force. And
agreed.
Without Hetfield, Metallica is not Metallica. And then number 1, Typo Negative. The first time I heard them, I couldn't get enough of them. I thought they were unique. They were different. Peter Steele was larger than life, literally. A massive vampire that had a lot of heart. He had a lot of heart. He was a tormented soul. There's a reason why he did a lot of drugs. There's a reason why he had a lot of sex. He was a tormented soul, but that pain in his life made incredible art, which is probably true for Hetfield and for a lot of people on our list. But for me, he bled. And I felt it from the first time I heard him, first time I saw them. Getting to know him was an honor for me. Being on a first name basis, with Kenny and Johnny to this day, you don't always get to meet your heroes, but they're good people. They were admitting of their flaws. They were partiers, but they made incredible art that is only, gaining steam even after Peter's passing. And so I love Typo Negative. I love all the bands on my list. I really love all the bands on your list as well.
Yeah.
And, but Typo for me is just a mainstay.
Yeah. Nice. My number 2 was Led Zeppelin. Again, sort of like your Sabbaths, or you could even say your Rolling Stones, your Beatles, they were at the forefront of a musical movement, and the power that's the great thing about Zeppelin and a lot of the bands on both our lists. They were doing stuff that not too many other people were doing, but they weren't just doing it. They were doing it to a factor of 100. They were taking huge swings, and Zeppelin, much like Sabbath, helped kind of establish a whole new realm of heavy rock. And name your album. It doesn't matter. From the very first to the very last, there are gems throughout every single album that they've recorded. And just a powerhouse band, and that's why they're on the list. My number 1 spot was Rush. Well, number 1 band is Rush. The trifecta, astonishingly good musicians, phenomenal songwriting, absolutely phenomenal. And they kept pushing boundaries. And again, like a lot of the bands that we both like, doing things that not everybody else was doing. And they not only did something new, they did it at the highest levels. And I always respected what they were doing. All their albums are winners for me. Of course, I've got my favorites, but yeah, great band. This easily could have been a 25 or 30 position list instead of 11. It would not have been difficult to fill them out.
It was fun, and I was trying to figure out a way to fill our social media while we were away and not recording. And I had a hard time with the list, because there are 40 bands that are consistently in my life, and some of them are new, and some of them we know, and some of them we've reviewed and we've interviewed. But, it was hard, but I really went through the exercise, and then I let Apple kind of tell me a little bit more.
Yeah,
when
your listening habits.
Got stumped. My listening habits, and that was how I came to the list. But it was fun to do it, and hopefully we meet a band this year that maybe breaks this top 11 for us.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah.
That'd
and
cool.
There's so much great new music. We talk about this all the time. There is new stuff coming out consistently. It's not all awesome, but some of it is really, really impressive and cool.
Yeah.
And getting to know some of those bands, and as you said, getting to know some of the players and the people, Carbomb, Greg Kubacki, we're looking forward to, we will force him to have a conversation with us if it's the last thing I do this year, because I am just such a fan of his and what he does. There's so many good bands coming out, and we're angling to have conversations with as many of them as we can, if for no other reason because we're both wildly selfish, and I have questions that I would love to get answers to.
Yeah, well, I mean, to toot our own horn, I think we're pretty good at interviews, so I think we're doing all right in questions, and we're not making it about us; we're making it about them.
Well, we haven't.
And what
I don't
fans
think
would want to know.
Yeah, we haven't insulted anybody too badly yet. So again, we're winning.
I don't think we've insulted anybody. Let's give ourselves a round of. We have not. We insult each other all the time because I can't stand you. But we do not insult anybody who comes on the show, which is great.
True enough. All right. Well, this was fun, and it was like you said, a tough ask to put these short lists together. But we'll do more over the next coming months, and maybe we expand them out a little bit.
I want to see subscribe and follow us, but also put in the comments, what are your bands and why? And if there are bands that you want us to review, and whether it's an older band to consider for our top list that we're completely remiss on, or new bands that we should be reviewing and interviewing, put them in the comments.
Yeah.
And again, we really want this to be about the community, not necessarily about us. It's what you guys want us to talk about and what we should be talking about, in your opinion.
Yeah. And if we don't hear from you, we're just going to keep pounding our own drivel into you. So, the listeners have more control than they might think. So, all right. Well, good shit. They do. They absolutely do. Good shit, man. And I will see you on the next one, bro.
Sounds good.
See ya.